You may all be seated. Again, it's a pleasure to be here this morning. Join that worship service. Just again, feeling the sweet, calming spirit in this house today. Hope you all got a little bit of sleep last night. I didn't hear anything from over there, but I haven't heard any stories yet. I did see a little bit of a reaction when Brother Gillis Sr., if you want to call him that, asked if you guys talked last night, and I saw a few heads go down. So I would take that as a yes. But, it's part of church camp, right? By the end of the week, you're all going to be dead tired, most likely. Been there, done that. It's great fun, right? Enjoyed breakfast this morning. Some awesome pancakes. Thank you, Sister Smith. Awesome. You guys have an awesome thing going here. The theme of this week, we're talking about basically taking out the giants, to paraphrase, Rick paraphrase. We're talking about taking the giants down. So what I'd like to talk to you today about is the giant of regret. And my scripture for this morning is going to be based on Matthew 5, verse 45. And it says, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust. And Pastor Geraldo, if you could pray this morning.
Dear Heavenly Father, we pray, Lord Jesus, you minister to a hospital, because your word is the full message of your Christ your life. In your name we pray.
Amen. So now, when I talk about regret, I'm pretty sure that something popped in everyone's head here. I think by this point in life, let's see, who's the youngest? What's your name? Asani, right? How old are you? 14. Anybody younger than 14? How old are you? 13. Okay. And I won't go to the other end. But there are a lot of us in between there. But I'm sure at 13, you probably have things you regret. Everybody, as you go through life, there are going to be things you regret, whether they are acts of commission, something you did that you regret, or acts of omission, things you didn't do that you regret. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. How regret is in our lives, and how honestly, you really can't get rid of it. It's going to be there. That mistake that you made, you're going to remember it. God forgets it. God forgives it. He totally washes it away. But our human minds don't like to forget those things. Right? Something comes up and triggers it. People from your past, you just happen to run into them in the store. You just happen to, if you guys have Facebook, a Facebook request pops up from this person that you knew back then. It's like, whoa. And then all the stuff starts pouring through your mind. Little sidebar here. For those of you who have Facebook, there's a few of you. Yes. Well, okay. No. How many of you has Facebook? Go ahead, put your hands up. All right, put your hands down. How many of you don't have Facebook? Okay, 2. That makes it a little bit easier. I should have asked that way. Facebook is a good tool. It's fun for spreading news, keeping in contact with friends and all that good stuff. And, sometimes, relationships start through Facebook just because you make a contact, just a little contact with somebody, and things start to build. And that's all good. There are good things with Facebook. And there are bad things with Facebook. Now, this is a bit of a sidebar from what I'm talking about, but just hang with me here for a minute. I have Facebook, okay? And I know personally some people, I get on there and it's like, oh, why? No offense, but I really don't want to know every little detail about your life. Why do you insist on putting that on Facebook? I'm sorry, if you've had a terrible day, say, you know what, haven't had the best day, please pray for me. That's great, sure. Don't go through all the details. Please don't tell us everything that happens. Guys, girls, don't share pictures of yourself that you wouldn't want your pastor to see. Now, I think that doesn't just apply for Facebook. Having relationships and stuff, and I know it's tough. Okay, I've been there, done that, and I've made some mistakes too in the past. Be careful with that kind of stuff. Number one, once you put it out there, it's always out there. Number two, you never know who's looking. The government uses that, private agencies use that. Yes, I use that to find people. Okay, I'm an investigator and I use Facebook quite a bit. So be careful what you put on there. Okay? Because the government can trace you. Nowadays, the government can arrest you for something you put on Facebook. And that's a little bit more of the extreme end. But for morality issues, watch what you're putting on there, okay? Whether you like it or not, if you're here, you are promoting this church, and you're promoting your pastor, Brother Smith, your youth pastor, Brother Geraldo, the Smith family. That is who people see. When they see you're connected with them and you go to this church, they think, oh, well, I guess that pastor allows that. That pastor knows this is going on. It's his person. You start to lower your standards on Facebook, people are just going to assume, oh, wow, Brother Smith is really letting go of that standard? Right. I know this person goes to that church, and, I know they're involved in the leadership. I know they're involved in the ministry. I see them praying at the altar. So they wouldn't just be putting this up there if it wasn't allowed. Right? Okay, so now, that little sidebar over, I'm sure some of you have some things you regret you put on Facebook. Okay, and I think, as I said, everybody in this room probably has a regret of some sort or another. And again, as I said, you're not going to be able to live without those regrets. But today I want to talk to you a little bit about living with regret. How to deal with that regret. Now, you may or may not have heard at some point in your life about this big, strong, tough guy with long hair. Right? And he could just whoop up. Okay? Take out a lion, slay all these people with the jawbone of a donkey, and, just wipe out Philistines one after the other, and just nothing could take this guy down. And then he meets this pretty lady. And he falls in love with her. At least, I guess, that's what it looks like anyway. And we know, because we see, what's going on here from the outside, that she's just using him. So, he goes through the whole thing. Well, if you do this, then I'll lose my strength. And she does that, and he doesn't lose his strength. So she asks him again. Now, guys and girls, think about this. If you're with somebody, okay, you're dating somebody, you're talking to somebody, and their main goal is to find out what your weakness is, or how do you use your strength? Shouldn't that scare you a little bit? If you were Samson, if I were Samson, and this girl was like, Samson, what makes you strong? Okay, I can understand that. So, okay, well, this, I work out a little bit, whatever the case is. And then the next day, you wake up to find yourself tied up with whatever you just told her that you can't break through. And she asks you again. And when are you going to figure it out? We are hardheads. I am a rockhead. So, in that stubborn mindset and physically, I've knocked a few people out on the football field just banging heads. So I know how this goes. But think about it. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? So he goes through this whole deal, and sure enough, he tells her the secret. That it's from his long hair, because God It made a vow with God, and that's what gave him the strength, not just the long hair, but through God. Okay, that vow is what gave him that strength. So she shaves him bald. And the Philistines come in, and he can't do anything. He's powerless now. So he gets all chained up, they gouge out his eyes, all this stuff. Now, what if you were Samson? By this point, he's obviously figured out that Delilah had it in for him. Right. By this point, he's figured out, okay, I shouldn't have done that. By this point, he's figured out, okay, maybe I should have stayed there instead of hanging out with the enemy. So what do? Do you sit on the steps? Oh, I'm a failure. I failed. I'm just going to die. Goodbye. Is that it? You cry your eyes out. God, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. Do you live every day of your life? I'm a failure. I messed up. I messed up. I messed up. I messed up. You can. And, I know people that live like that. It's like they made a mistake, and that's all that they think about. I did this. I did that. You can't live like that. Okay, look at Samson. Now, granted, there was a little bit of an extreme end to this. I'm not saying that this is the way you should take care of it. Think about the principle here. Okay, he put that past behind him. He said, you know what, God, I messed up really bad. Okay, I totally trashed what you gave me. But if you'll give me one more chance, I will do what you want me to do. I will take out the enemy. And God gave him that chance, and instead of just sitting in his cell and rotting, he decided to take that last stand. So he put that regret behind him, and he chose to go forward without that. So, I've mentioned already, the reality of regrets is there's no such thing as no regrets. Okay, you'll probably hear that in the world, live with no regrets. You can't. It's just not possible. And, the world will take that to the other end of, well, just don't regret it. Just do what you want to do, and that's how you live without regrets. But that's not the case. It doesn't work that way. You may regret a decision you made about a job. You may regret a decision, at some point about a car you bought. Or in some cases, you may regret the decision about a guitar that you bought. And now, you paid X amount for this thing, and you haven't touched it but twice, and you want to get rid of it because you need the money, but nobody's going to pay you what you bought for it. Just simple things like that. We don't look at that as life-ending things, but that's a regret. Okay? I regret that I bought that guitar. Okay? Now, somebody did point out to me that it had a little bit to do with another situation in my life, and it actually helped that. So maybe there was a purpose. So choose to look at it. What vision are you seeing that through? You may regret the roommate that you buddied up with. They just up and walked out and left you with all the bills. Or, if you're going to college, I know some of you are, and, it seemed great, and then there it went. Oops, now you're stuck with everything. So you may regret that decision. All of us do or say things that we wish we hadn't afterwards. You get angry and you spout off. I have a quote here. It says, if you are patient in one moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow. Because we all say things we don't mean when we're angry, Speak when you are angry, and you'll make the best speech you'll ever regret. That was Dr. Lawrence J. Peter. And that's the way it goes. I've had arguments with people in the past, and you say things that are hurtful. Because, if any of you are like me, I'm a very defensive person. You attack me, and I'm going to back up my reasoning, and I'm going to, fight back. I'm not just going to crawl in a hole and say, I'm sorry. I'm going to fight my position first And then I'll come back and say, I was wrong. So there you go. I know that this is how I operate. So you try to work on that, because you're going to regret that. You have a fight with your best friend, and you call them names, or you say something about a secret that nobody's supposed to know in front of everybody, and it's like, oh man, I should not have done that. That's regret right there. That fast, just over something simple. Even when that person hopefully forgives you, you still kick yourself about it. I've done things, and I know the person has forgiven me, but you're still like, man, why did I do that? What in the world was I thinking? I take this person who I am best friends with, and then over something so ridiculous, guys, over this girl that neither one of us ended up dating, we had this big fight because, girls, I don't know exactly how you operate, but I'm sure there's a little bit of that in there where that's my man, and you're not going to, I hit the nerve. All right, good. I hit the nerve. So, you have your little fights over that. That's my territory right there. I claim him.